Hello everyone, and welcome back to Multi-Level Mess. My name is Tori, and yes, I am still a goth against oppressive religions. Well, this is it, the third and final part of my series looking into the Potter's House organization and why they are a cult. Of course, if you haven't already seen part 1 and 2, make sure to check the links in the description so that you're caught up on everything going on. And as always, feel free to skip this video if you do not wish to watch content that is critical of a religion, and please keep any discussions in the comments civil. My critique, like with MLMs, will be focused on the organization in question, not individual attacks, and will be based on my personal knowledge and experiences. A quick update about the financial exploitation section in part 2. I have since discovered that the recording about non-tithers going to hell has actually been re-uploaded, so I was able to give it a listen to. It's about 2 minutes long, so I'm going to go ahead and link it in the description of that video, but let's just say it's not great.
Tithing is not liberality. It's how we keep alive. It's how we stop God's hand from killing us, repossessing our lives.
Now, part 2 got very dark, and we still have a ways to go. Today's video will be looking into the aftermath of the Potter's House and the experiences of members who leave, whether by choice or through being disfellowshipped. Let's go ahead and get right to it. It was quite scary to even consider leaving the fellowship. To leave meant friends and even relatives might disown you. I know of folk who remained in the group despite having serious reservations simply because they don't want to lose their friends. One of the many ways cults maintain control over their members is to instill fear of consequences for leaving the group. These supposed consequences vary in nature and severity, and can include one or more of things such as accidents, suicides, incurable diseases, loss of salvation, eternal damnation, demonic corruption or possession, or harm to the ex-member and their loved ones. While the Potter's House has shown to instill a number of these fears, there is another one that I want to take a closer look into, as I consider it to be one of the most problematic forms of control that are often overlooked in more mainstream oppressive religions, and that is shunning. Cults often make their members feel like they are part of a close-knit community or family, bonded by their shared ideals. They employ methods like shunning to make ex-members long for that community, in hopes that they would miss it and return out of desperation, or to make current members think twice before leaving. Unfortunately, the toxic practice of cutting all communication or refusing to associate with one's own family and friends enforced through a group's doctrines has been the source of a lot of hurt for members of these groups, current and former alike, and the Potter's House is no stranger to these practices. Not only have there been numerous accounts of former members declaring that they've been told that anyone who leaves the church is a rebel or a backslider, and those people in turn being declared as such after their departure, but they have also reported being harassed and slandered by the people they once considered their friends. Here are some examples of what these former members had to say about their departure. When a person leaves, we are strongly advised to have nothing to do with them because they are rebels, and the Bible says that we should have nothing to do with rebels. Superficially, this is logical, except that everyone who leaves is a rebel. Yet, I know that most people leave for one of two reasons. They either backslide or they feel they must leave if they are to survive as a believer. Either way, neither are rebels in the sense referred to in the scriptures dealing with rebels. The upshot of this is that when someone leaves our church, they never come back. Worse, they are ignored, and this only justifies their decision. It was boredom that finally drew her out of the fold. After 5 years, she grew tired of making the church the center of her life, and rebelled by doing something outrageously independent. She bought a television. We were glued to that set for weeks, she says. Television, music, books, anything not approved by Wayman was definitely sinful. It was our first break to freedom. After her departure, she says she was forced to leave the city and move to Phoenix. I couldn't live a functional life in Prescott, she says. The members harassed me beyond belief. I had to get out before something bad happened. A victim of SA says she was love-bombed by church members who repeatedly told how much they and Jesus loved her. But there was a dark side to the comforting words. If she dared to stop witnessing and leave the church, she would be damned and go straight to hell. That threat was affirmed when one friend dropped out and a week later, her parents died in a tragic auto accident. The members kept saying it was all her fault, that she caused her parents' death, she recalls, her eyes brimming with tears. They have a way of trapping you with guilt and backing you in a corner. You almost need permission to go to the bathroom. With a degree in religion and philosophy from Northern Arizona University, he appeared to be on the right career path, but he became uneasy about having absolute submission to the headship of the church and began backing off. Church officials were not pleased. I was labeled a backslider for shirking my responsibilities, he recalls. My perspective was somewhat different, however. I saw it as their unwillingness to allow me to question and think for myself. He was warned that if he left the group, he would be in the devil's grip and God would abandon him. He took the risk and paid a dear price. The apparent horror stories told by former members of Potter's House are all very similar. Many left the church on their own, and many had family members intervene, and a few say they were expelled for asking too many questions about the church's doctrines and financial dealings. They, the Potter's House pastors, told me if I left, I was the devil, a heretic, and their arch rival. They said the earth would open up and swallow me. Well, I'm still here. I'm still here. I feel like that last quote is a powerful one to take away from all I've covered thus far. I hope that anyone watching who may have been involved with the Potter's House and have been hurt by it will listen when I say, you are not alone. And you shouldn't be ashamed of leaving or being cast out of that church. I'm sorry for what you may have had to endure, and I hope that you have been able or will be able to shape your own beliefs or lack thereof in a safer, healthier environment. Question: seek the truth, and seek out the details outside of this group. Listen to what they say and write. Look into what its many critics have to say. I wanted to wrap up this series on a hopeful note. When someone has been subjected to the harmful ways of a cult, I think that having a sense of support and community can be helpful. That is why I wanted to talk about some of the ways public support has been offered throughout the years. At one point in Phoenix, Arizona, a group called Second Chance formed, which allowed many victims whose stories I've shared here to finally speak up about their experiences and find support. I am not sure if this group is still around today, as I couldn't find anything more about them online, and the phone number listed in the article I read had no area code, so I couldn't call to confirm anything. Another group mentioned in the article formed in Flagstaff around 1989 called Life After Potter's House, which was started by a man named Stephen Schoner. The webpage for that is actually still up amazingly, despite there seemingly being no updates since 2003. There are several links available there as resources, though some of them are no longer available or have been privated. The biggest support groups that are still going today that I could find are on Facebook, which makes sense as social media can allow a larger amount of people from around the world to share their experiences. I found 3 big ones, with the largest having approximately 1.4 thousand members. From what I've read, these groups seem to be a great place for ex-members to share their stories, to vent, to joke, and to heal. Say what you will about Facebook, but I think it's a good thing that these groups have a safe space to talk. I'm going to be linking some sites in the description with resources that may be helpful to anyone who may have been a victim of the Potter's House. Spiritual Abuse Resources offers some good video and book suggestions, including a book that I have cited in this series called Churches That Abuse by Ronald Enroth. RAIN.org has resources for sexual assault survivors, and for information about cults and the full bite model, I recommend the Freedom of Mind Resource Center. It's been a long journey, but I want to thank everyone who took the time to watch through this entire series. It was my first time tackling a topic like this, so I hope that I was able to present it with integrity and that the information has been valuable to you. I wanted to talk about the Potter's House because they're one of the first cult-like groups in my area that I ever knew about, and they have fascinated me for a long time. And with such a widespread influence around the world, I feel as if there needs to be more awareness about their problematic ways. Making this series has opened up discussions I've otherwise never been able to have with some people. I have had a family member message me saying that they thought I handled the subject matter maturely and about how they went to the same school where Ronald and Roth taught, and that he may have even taught there around the same time that my grandfather did. That bit of personal connection makes this series all the more special to me. I've also had the chance to connect to local survivors of other cults by bringing up the mutual interest in this series, such as the awesome driver I got about a month ago on the way to a job interview. If he's watching this, hi, hello, I hope you're doing well. I don't know what cult I'm going to cover next, and if I do, how deep I'll go, but I'm glad I was able to do this. If you want to make sure you're here to see future related content, please consider subscribing to the channel and checking out my blog at multilevelmess.wordpress.com. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and consider donating to my Ko-fi page to help me continue making content. Thanks again for watching. I hope to see you all back in the graveyard very soon.